Music is a vehicle that can take you anywhere you want to go, anytime you want to be there. No matter what you do, why you do it, who you choose to do it with or for, music will ensure that the moment is always just right. The saxophone is the luxury sports model of all vehicles that insists that you experience the ultimate groove that sets the mood for whatever you choose. Mighty Horn Music presents the COVID Concert Series with saxophonist Travis Bridges. Live from the Hollywood Home Studio. Smooth jazz, top 40, R&B, inspirationals, and more. Thank you for tuning in. You are now on a musical first-class journey to anywhere you want to be.
Breakout! Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Hollywood Home Studio. It would normally be the COVID Concert Series, but this is the actual spin-off of the COVID Concert Series. Not necessarily music, but talk. And it's actually entitled Swym, Pwym. Swym, Pwym. What is Swym, Pwym? It's say what you mean and play what you mean. Kind of sort of something I came up with to make a point. If I'm playing my saxophone, I'm playing exactly what I'm actually meaning. And if I'm talking, I'm saying what I'm actually meaning. And I'm actually meaning what I'm saying. And I think that's important. You know? Because oftentimes we say, oh wow, why don't I do this? Oh yeah. Oftentimes we say something and we may not even mean it, or we may not mean it the way someone will hear it. And someone will hear something and not get clarity on it, and before you know it, there's a puff of smoke. And where there's smoke, there's fire. Somebody say, fire! Well, I designated myself as the fireman, the fire extinguisher. And what I'm extinguishing is the fires that happen in communication, conversation, whether it's between two people or 200 million people. The Bible says, if I can quote the Bible tonight, in all you're getting, get an understanding. And I think that's what life is about, you know, making sure we understand, making sure we're clear. And then there's another step, making sure that we're okay with what we're clear with. Because even sometimes if you hear something and you understand it, if you don't like it, that will bring out another little monster in the form of an attitude, or, you know. So we kind of have to sort of get those things in order. So that's what we're going to be talking about throughout the Swym, Pwym portion of the COVID Concert Series, or Mighty Horn Music Live from the Hollywood Home Studio. So I somehow believe that, I have the ability to analyze. And I'm hoping that maybe someday somebody will prove me not so much wrong, but teach me something, based on the way I think and the way I process information. So I would encourage you, if you are listening, to do just that. Get involved maybe with the conversation with myself or with someone else, or a scenario. Maybe you can call me and share a scenario with me. Hey, let me tell you what happened at work today. Well, John did this, and then Susie said that, and then, the boss came in and did this. So what do you think of this? So when you're analyzing a situation, you have to look at what is called universal principles. They're guidelines that we go by, particularly if we have chaos or different kinds of challenges. So, if you look at either universal principles or points of references or even the law, or even agreements, you can save yourself a whole lot of headaches by paying attention to what it's supposed to be. And then, as I said, once you get your understanding, being okay and accepting, what is either real, what is true, what is good, what is kind, what is lovely, what is of a good report, accepting that and being okay with it instead of not liking it and then showing that monster called an attitude. So that's all I'm doing, is just looking at situations, analyzing them based on principles, laws, points of references, and then being okay with what is, instead of having an attitude about what's not, or what I want it to be, or how I want it to be. So I can see that I'm kind of off-centered with my camera work, and these are kind of sort of like pilots. Look at my knees all showing. I'm not supposed to do that. Let me pull up a little bit, and let's see if I can do this. I'm calling these pilots because I don't even have my official intro, but I'll get it. I promise you. If you know me, you know that if I say it, I'm gonna do it, and if I can anyway. So with that being said, I do have one caller that I'm going to get. My brother Torrance is with me, and Kimberly is with me. Somebody left, and that's okay. I'm cool with that. He said that's the Pet Shop Boys. That's not the Pet Shop Boys that was playing. So anyway, let's see if I can get my caller ready. By the way, if you're with me and you can hear me okay, just type in there, say we hear you good. Come up a little bit, or you're too far back, kind of let me know. I'm still doing, sound checks and stuff like that right there. And I'd appreciate, good feedback. I really would. So let me get my caller on and see what we got here.
Call has been forwarded to an automated.
What's that? Oh, I think I dialed the wrong number. Thank you for your patience. I appreciate it. I promise you it's going to get better. Despise not small beginnings is what I'm trying to talk about. And that's what's happening. Small beginnings right now.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey.
How you feeling?
All right, Travis. How you doing?
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. I've been on for about 7 minutes now, just kind of chatting it up, talking a little bit, and trying to get a little feedback from my few people that are here. Linda is in the house. She says she can hear me fine. What about my caller? Can you hear my caller? Let me know that, and then I'll just go ahead on and get with it. How are you today anyway?
Hello. I'm okay, Travis. I'm okay. Long day, but I'm all right.
I know
Hanging in there.
You is this a good time for you? You okay?
Yes, I'm okay.
So we're going to be all right in this conversation?
Sure, of course.
Do you remember, I think I told you something this week that we were going to talk about. Do you remember what it was?
Nope.
What? Are we stuck without a topic?
I find that hard to believe that we're stuck, but we didn't discuss the topic together, so.
I think we need to come
up
with one.
But I know you always have, I think you always have something to talk about.
What makes you think that?
Because you normally do. Because there's always subjects to talk about. There's always something to talk about.
Oh, okay. So then, since that's the case, then why don't you just talk about something then? What is there to talk about? Since you...
You know what?
No, I don't know what. But if you introduce me to what, I will know what. But for now, since you said there's always something to talk about, then go ahead. So what are we going to talk about, ma'am? Because, let me tell you how this works. It almost doesn't matter. And I'm kind of sort of doing it like this on purpose. I promise you, there's going to come a time in the very near future where I'm going to hook up and I'm going to have like topics and subjects. I'm going to have tons of guests lined up. Maybe people who will even be waiting in line to talk to me and hear me analyze circumstances, situations, and topics and whatnot. And I'm okay with that. But as for now, I'm just still testing and doing sound checks and, kind of sort of being cool. Man, gosh, I probably could. Anyway. So, yeah. So since there's always something to talk about, what is it going to be tonight? Oh, my goodness. Are you stuck?
I'm a little bit, but I'm thinking of something. One of the things that's crossed my mind recently, and maybe we have a conversation about it.
Okay, go ahead. So what is that?
Okay. So.
Oh, by the way, I do have a little something in my pocket. I'm saving it for last.
You have what?
A little something. I do have a type of a topic, a sort of a topic. I have something that I'm going to share. But go ahead. You're on a roll. But you said you knew I always have something, so maybe you're right.
Of course, I absolutely know. Okay. But one of the things I find interesting, especially as I'm coming up to half a century soon, right?
You mean your birthday?
Yes.
You said you're coming up to it?
Well, I'm 3 years away, but that to me means coming up to it rather quickly. Okay?
No hiding your age.
I don't care. It's facts, right? So,
okay. So go ahead. What are you getting at?
How do you define what your legacy is? Like, what? Well, it's two things. Legacy is one thing, I think, and then success is another, right?
Yeah.
Or what you're passionate about, what you feel like in your hearts of hearts you want to do. And I think we probably have talked about this, but this is something that I talk about or I think about pretty regularly.
Okay. So I hear you, but I'm not sure I understand what you're saying. Now, of course, I know what it means. You're saying, how do you find out what your legacy is? Pretty much what you leave behind. Your legacy is pretty much based on what you've done. So explain how are you using legacy? What is your question? I'm a little lost. What are you getting at?
I don't really know how to. I'm having difficulty trying to figure out is it a question or just thoughts? Or maybe that's the question I'm asking myself. What is my legacy going to be? And how does that look? And I'm just wondering if
slow down. Let's just do, because now you've got a bunch of things out there and I'm a little lost. So is that maybe it is a question. So you're saying, what is your legacy going to be? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think a legacy kind of takes a name. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm not an expert. When we're just talking, I think a legacy kind of sort of takes on its own. What you do. If you've done something or you've contributed to society in a certain way, your legacy will be pretty much what you leave behind. So you will determine that, or it will be determined for you based on, how you have lived your life. So when you ask what will my legacy be, you can kind of look at how your life, has been. And for the most part, that will be at least the foundation of what your legacy would be. And if you're listening or watching or paying attention right now and you want to chime in on that, that'll be really cool because, that's just what I understand legacy to be. Did I either answer your question or give you some insight on what you were trying to put out there?
Yes, you did. Let me ask you something else, and that with that as well. Do you think most people, or maybe just for you, translate legacy in form of family values or what you leave for your family? Because I think a lot of times that's the first thing a lot of people think of. Is it not?
Well, maybe. But I think what you may be talking more about is not necessarily legacy as much as you're talking about maybe an inheritance. So when you talk about leaving something to your family, and you mentioned family in particular, instead of a legacy, because a legacy can be included in an inheritance, so to speak. But I think maybe what you're asking about, or the way you spoke that, was more like, an inheritance. If you're leaving an inheritance to your family, are you separating inheritance and legacy? Is that?
Yeah, I wasn't thinking of inheritance for my family. I guess I was thinking about from a personal standpoint, not necessarily what I would be giving to others materially or anything. Like, I guess, let's say I died tomorrow, right? And
No, let's
what
don't
would
say
they talk
that.
about
Let's
at my
just say
funeral?
something. Let's just say if another person. Go ahead. Just say another person. Another person, because
Okay.
I'm gonna need you.
Well,
I've
all
had
of us
enough
are going
of
to
that.
have that day, right?
Yes.
What is going to be said about me at the funeral? Is that's what your legacy is, right? Because that's what people.
Well, that would be
believe,
more.
or-
That might be more of your memory. And if a legacy is a memory, I mean, I'm not associating a legacy with a memory. I think a legacy would be more of what you have contributed. What someone would say, at a person's funeral would be more of how they may have impacted their lives. When you talk about leaving a legacy, it's more, I'm thinking maybe it's more of a broad contribution instead of a personal contribution. And I could be wrong. But am I making any sense? Can you see the difference in how someone would?
I see that from a memory standpoint of what they could want to share in regards to events or experiences that you've shared. So that could be technically a memory. I got that right.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I think too, maybe it's two separate things. It's the memories of what you did with somebody that somebody want to have a reflection about, for reflections. And this is not what they kind of call it anyway. They call it like reflection periods. And then your legacy would be something of the sort of what you contributed to society, or, what you gave, like, unselfishly to me.
Right.
To the world, right?
Right. So then there's a difference then. So when we talk about legacy,
I believe so. Now that we talk about it definitely is a difference.
Right. Okay, so then now let's get back to your question. Are you talking about your legacy, your inheritance, or how somebody how you may?
But why are you saying you're saying are you talking about your legacy or your?
Well, when you mention what you leave
I don't think those two are together at all.
Well, I agree with you, but when you made mention, when we were trying to figure out exactly what we were talking about, you made mention about what you leave to your family. And that's why I brought in maybe that's more of an inheritance. So I'm just saying, now that we've discussed it, we've talked about, you mentioned legacy, and we were trying to narrow down exactly how we were going to discuss legacy, because I think your legacy can be tied into either your inheritance or your personal impacts on people's lives. So we have three things on the table. What we're talking about, one, you particularly mentioned legacy, and then we're not sure if we're talking about an inheritance or maybe just a memory. So now that we have three things on the table, what is your question about, yourself? Are you wanting to talk about how someone may view how you impacted their lives, what you may leave behind, for your family, or a collective, a collection of all of that, that will be generalized? You know what I mean?
Well, I think it is a collection of all of that, but I think the biggest thing that I think about as much is what do I want that legacy to be?
Well,
right?
I think, okay, I think what you want that legacy would be how you plan it, or how you live your life, how you live your life, and what you contribute to society, or to whoever is going to either claim your legacy or display your legacy, would be how you live your life. I don't think you can do one thing and then say, well, I want my legacy to be something different. I want people to remember me for being a professional football player when I worked on cars. So when you say what I want my legacy to be, I'm not sure I'm following you. I'm trying to get still to your question or your statement or your topic.
But you know what? I don't know if I have a question. My question is, I wonder if people think about that. Like, what mark they're leaving on this world.
Right.
Do you think about that?
Not consciously. Occasionally, if I am zoned out in some kind of way, I might think about how someone may think about me. I kind of think about that now. I have a bad habit of, being sometimes overly concerned about what someone may think about me. So I probably do that while I'm alive in a certain way. But no, I don't necessarily think about what someone will say about me in terms of my legacy, particularly when I'm gone. But okay, I guess I could. Anyway, just for station identification, if you're watching or listening, this is Mighty Horn Music. We're live from the Hollywood Home Studio. I'm Travis Bridges. I do have my special guest that is on the phone with me, and we're talking tonight, just talking in general. She decided to talk about legacy, so we're kind of breaking down the meaning of legacy and what it means. But if you by chance would like to chat with me, please go to my email or go to your phone and send me an email to TravisBridges2. That's Travis Bridges and the number 2 at AOL.com, and just put in the subject, call me, and then leave your number in the body of the email. And if you'd like to add what you'd like to talk about or discuss, you can do that too. At some point in time, I will respond to that and I'll get back at you. And, we can talk or analyze something, and you can hear from me and, my perspective. Of course, my perspective is just my perspective. It's different from someone else's, and I kind of value it, and I think I have something to contribute by the way I analyze. So thank you again for tuning in. If you're just tuning in now, or if you're watching this at another time or listening to it, I appreciate your input, your feedback, and of course, your support. So with that being said, where were we, my friend? Do you remember?
We're just talking about legacy and what that means, and I'm not necessarily I'm not necessarily concerned about what people may say about what I've done. I'm more concerned about from me. You know what I'm saying? Do I feel like I am contributing to this world and contributing to my family? Am I I don't know. I guess in a way what you were saying too, like just by living, we are doing something, right? So just by our daily things, whether we're doing something in our jobs or whether we're doing something in our family life or just the way we live our lives, those things are just kind of almost automatic, I guess. But I just think about it. So that's all. I don't even know. It's still one of those things that is not like a concrete thing. It's more like a fluid thing, And what do I want to accomplish in this next half of my life? Especially, I think sometimes when we get on the other side where we're going to be here less than what we already have been here, for the most part. So then you think about, okay, so what are you going to do with this time? How are you going to do it differently than what you've already done? How are you going to make it impactful for yourself? And I think I've done a pretty good job. I'm not that type of person that just want to just live. I do want to do things and experience things and, have adventures and have really good, solid relationships and connections with people. And for me, that's important. And I have that, and I just want to have even more of it,
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if there's really any question or anything. It's just something that has been on my mind.
Why has that been on your mind? What triggered that?
That's a good question, because I think right now, at this point in my life, I feel like there's some changes that have to happen, and I need to do some things differently. in regards to like what do I want to do next, in my career is one of them. Like, how do I want that to look for myself? Because I definitely don't want it to look like it's looked for the last 30 years. How I want it to look different. And I think that has been the biggest factor as to why I've been thinking about it, probably more so than in the past.
So it sounds like you've been doing some self-evaluating.
Yes.
And you're tallying up, where you've been, where you are, and where you want to go.
Exactly.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. And with that being said, you are considering some adjustments.
Yes.
Okay. And clearly what you are going to leave behind or how you're going to be remembered is at the tip of your brain.
It is. Or what I want to do. You know what I'm saying?
To create that legacy or to create that memory.
Right, exactly.
Or create that inheritance.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And you said the last 30 years is not, you're not on track with where you want it to be?
Some things I am, but I want to do it different though. Like I do want to do things differently, better and more enjoyable. And I'm trying to also evaluate what I'm really good at. Because I find in my research, as
I know one thing, talking junk, you're pretty good at that.
Okay, Travis.
But that's not what we're talking about. What? But go ahead. So go ahead.
But I'm really trying to evaluate that for myself. What am I really, really good at? Like, I don't have, like, for you are a really, 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 really amazing saxophone player. You have a skill set that's very clear and easy to see, to define. For me, I guess I do have a skill set in what I do for a job because I do a function, I prepare stuff. So that is something that I am, quote unquote, good at. But that doesn't, I don't know. It just doesn't seem so exciting, And I'm really trying to dig deeper into, what I'm good at. That's what I'm trying to do.
I just heard you say something, and I think it's amazing. I've been reading a lot, part of my 75 days. It's been causing me to read, and it's amazing how, the mind works. Somehow or another, what we don't have is what we look for and what we want. And what we have, it's not as interesting to us. And that's a whole nother, wow, that could be a topic one day. And maybe I'll do that. But you just said something in regards to what you do. Did you say boring? What was the word you used? You said something about, what you do or how you do it is not exciting or something to that degree. Yeah,
I did. I said it's kind of not exciting.
Right. Well, do you know how many people are in line? How many people are going to college and how many people are excited about what it is that you do, that they want to become what you do?
Yes.
You know that there's a whole course, college degree that, based on what you do, and you've been doing it for 30 years and you find it not exciting because you have it. So with that being said, I'm just going to go off a little. What would you like to do then? Because you've been doing that. What would be exciting to you? Because guess what? I'm not going to say what I do is not exciting. But there are some other things that I would like to venture into, but we're not going to talk about me. We're going to talk about you. What would you like to do? Because I think what you do is exciting. I don't want to do it. I don't think I'm cut out for it. I know that. I know my lane and I'm staying in it. But I'm interested, what would you like to do?
And I'm trying to define that, Travis. That seems like that does seem like a really simple question, but it's not for me.
Well, you know what?
And
As
that
your
is
friend
one.
and brother and homie, that's kind of scaring me. We may need to take this call off the air, but I mean, when you say what you're doing, according to you, is not exciting, but then you're not sure what you want to do, it's nothing wrong with that because now you have some work to do, and since you are in evaluation mode, this might be a good time to actually do it. So, congratulations, welcome to where you are. So, but I think, without going too deep, what would you like to do? To just, give it some thought now, while I talk. I'm gonna do a little station break right now and give you time to talk about it. I'm just gonna, while I'm talking, you be thinking. So with that being said, I'm gonna do a little break and say, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Swym, Pwym. I'm Travis Bridges, your host. And we're just talking, and we don't talk about anything. We talk about everything, and it could be anything. Say that again 3 times. The reason we're talking is because, sometimes we listen to ourselves and we want to be clear with what we're saying and how we're saying it and how it's being interpreted. So this is a spin-off from my Sunday night live stream where I play my saxophone. I figured instead of having the horn in my mouth all the time, I would let you realize that I have more than one skill. I can play the saxophone a little bit and I can talk a little bit too. And I believe I've found a special calling or a gifting in being able to analyze things not based on how I see them, how I feel, or what I believe, or what I think, but based on what is, foundations, principal points of references, and as it relates to solving or analyzing or, dealing with chaos or problems. So that's why I've kind of sort of, take advantage of my ability to broadcast or communicate, and I'm just doing it. It's on a small level right now. I've got, according to this, 6 people watching and or listening, and I'm grateful for that. And I'm not doing this so much for a number of people, but just to exercise what I believe has been placed on my heart to do. So with that being said, I do have my special guest, and I don't call names. I'm going to figure out, once I get my intro and everything ready for the official, program, if I will start calling names and titles and stuff. So as for now, I'm just going to say my special guest, and we're getting back. And she was talking about what it is that, she wants to do, because what she's doing, she find it to be, not so exciting, although she's been doing it for 30 years. And that's another conversation within itself. But I am kind of having her on the couch tonight, and although she's not going to say what it is she wants to do because she wants to give it some thought, we're going to think about it on a short-term scale, on a different platform. So she's going to now talk about what it is she wants to do because she's had time to think about it while I was talking. So you're up.
Well, I'm going to answer some of it right now, but I do like some aspect of my job. As you know, I do enjoy being very conservative when it comes to spending money at times.
Conservative.
And I'm okay with that. I'm
conservative.
Really okay with that.
That couldn't translate into cheap or tight.
Well, you can call it that too.
I'm not calling. I'm asking you. Are you conservative? Are you cheap? Are you tight? Which is it?
I'm conservative.
All right. I'm just making sure I'm hearing what you're saying, and you're saying what you mean, and I'm understanding what you're saying as well as what you mean. So you're conservative when it comes to money, and you're not tight or stingy.
I'm conservative financially because I'm not conservative in a lot of things, but financially I am.
Okay. So with that being said, so what is it that you want to do, since what you do as it relates
Well, I
to...
know I have talked to you, and I want to talk about, I do think that people can benefit from some of the things that I've learned over the years of helping me to be financially conservative. And I get off on those kind of things. I really do. And I do think that I have... One of the things that I think one of the things I do think in my job, I do have a knack of trying to explain things to people to make them understand things that may not be easy for everybody to understand, especially when you're dealing with taxes. Not the most exciting conversations. And I can tell you over the years, that's been something that I do well. And people, appreciate it. And they appreciate when I can have a conversation with them and guide them and also, comfort them and let them know, it's not the end of the world type of thing. And also, give them some guidance. So that part I like. And then sometimes I really do get into crunching the numbers, I do get into that sometimes. I was working on a file today, and it's a big file, and it's something that I do once a year, and it does take a lot of time for me, but I do like it when I get it all together and it makes sense. So that part I do like. It's kind of weird. Like, I do have this brain that likes to find the pennies, right? Mm-hmm. And some people don't even like, what? And I like data. I really do. And I wish I like collecting things. Even like tonight, I was just at my nephew's soccer game, and I was taking down information. Now, I tried to pull back a little bit on that because I was getting crazy at one point. But you know how the people that do sports analysts and how they have hundreds of people that collect the data, the statistics, because every time we watch sports, all they're doing is throwing out statistics to you every minute, right? Mm-hmm. So-and-so happened this game, so-and-so happened that game. That I get off on. I think that's really exciting.
So with that being said, hold on a second. What is it that you want to do? That's where I'm trying to get to. What you do is...
I don't know, Travis. I don't know. I'm telling you what, I'm evaluating what I'm good at, and how does that translate into what do I want to do with that?
Well, maybe what you're doing is not boring then, or not exciting. Maybe
okay.
Maybe the way you're doing it, who you're doing it for or with, maybe, the way you've done it, is what's bothering you. Because if you know you're effective at something, how does it become boring or not exciting? And the only way it can become not, boring or exciting is if you're either not putting enough into it or you're not getting enough out of it. So let's do that. Which one, if you had to pick between those two as your reason for it being not exciting, is it because you are not putting enough in it or you're not getting enough out? If just pick between those two.
I would think that it'll be a little bit of both, but maybe the first one is more. Maybe I'm not putting enough in it because I've just gotten myself into doing the same old thing.
Okay. All right. Well, this is what I want to do. Can I give you some homework while I go to my other caller? And, I don't want to hold you up. I promised I would let you go after a half hour, and that time has come. And I know you have to get your beauty rest. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to do some homework, and we'll talk, next week about whether your career or what you're doing is not as exciting because you are you're not putting enough in or you're not getting enough out of it. I think that would be something to talk about. And although we will definitely have another topic the next time, we will cover that. So can I send you away with some homework to decide whether or not you're putting it in or not getting out, which is why you think it's, not as exciting. So can I send you away with some homework?
Of course. Okay. I got it. I like that, actually. Thank you.
Yeah,
I actually like the question that you asked. And yeah, okay.
All right, so you've got homework, and I've used enough of your time. I sure do thank you. You know I love you, right? You know I appreciate you.
I know you do, I love you back, buddy.
You know I thank God for you.
Oh, thank you. I thank God for you, too, because, they put us in, they connect us to people that we need to be connected to.
Amen. So. Amen. So, on that note, I'm going to go ahead on and I'm going to let you go. And until the next time we meet, you take care of yourself and find somebody you need to say I love you to. And don't just say it. We'll try to show it a little bit more, okay?
All right. Have a good night, Travis. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for hanging out with me. This is Swym Pwym, and I want to thank my guest in particular for hanging out with me tonight. Thank you so much. I'm going to do another call. And we're going to talk about something else. And I didn't even tell her what I had, on the stove cooking. Maybe I won't need it tonight. Maybe I'll save it. But I do have another caller I'm going to get to. And when I get to that caller, we're going to talk about something totally different. Because I just kind of like talking. And I'm going to find out if it's effective or not. Somebody's going to let me know. So, yeah. Let me get this caller going. Here's hoping you're having a wonderful night. This is Swym Pwym. I'm Travis Bridges, and this is how we're doing it on Wednesday night, because on Sunday nights we do it quite a bit different. It's live music via saxophone, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please by chance hit the subscribe button, and I'm going to fire up the Swym Pwym channel in the next few weeks too. So let me just get my caller on. Here we go. Oh, hold on, it's moving slow. Hold on. Okay, here we go.
Hello.
Hey, yay! How are you?
I am great. How are you?
That's wonderful. You might have to talk up just a wee bit because your voice is soft and smooth, and there's nothing wrong with a soft and smooth voice, and I'm sure at some place in time that's good. But we're on radio / internet / broadcast / podcast, and we need you to sit up tall and talk real clear and strong. Can you do that for us over here at Mighty Horn Music?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I appreciate it. So how was your day?
It was great.
Oh God, why is your voice? Are you on speaker or headset? Where are you? Because I'm not sure
I'm
I can.
on a headset.
I'm not sure that's gonna work. Can you try it a different way? Let's
Okay.
just see.
Okay, I will unplug. Can you hear me better now?
I think that's going to be better. Let's go with it either way, and I won't keep you long
Okay.
since you like me. You like to have headsets in and hands free, so I won't keep you long. But anyway, I was asking, how was your day? Tell me about your day. How was it? Good, bad, ugly?
It was very good. I spent a lot of time on Zoom calls, and sitting there for 3 hours looking at yourself is not real pleasant sometimes, but that's part of our world now.
Yeah, it's what we're doing. It's how we do it. And we better learn to like it if we don't. Or we can just choose to be miserable. And that's not what you're doing. Because you're not miserable.
No.
You're going to find a way to like that thing some kind of way.
I am.
Maybe
I'm actually
you know what you can do?
putting some
Go ahead. You're doing what?
Some new backgrounds on my Zoom so I can customize my background.
Oh, okay. It's always good. There's always a way. You have to talk about it, though, and think about it and process it. So if you find yourself bumping against something, talk about it. Communicate. So you're already finding a way to make it better. Look at that.
Yep.
All right. So have you been listening to the live stream?
I have.
Did you hear our topic, our subject?
I heard what you guys were talking about your legacy.
Well, not mine. Just legacy in general.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just being a little devil's
Not
advocate.
your legacy in particular.
Yeah. So you want to finish on that topic, or you have something juicy for me?
I don't have a topic. We can talk about legacy.
Okay. Let's hear your take on legacy. That would be interesting.
Why would my take on legacy be interesting?
Because you're my guest, and I want to hear from you. I want to hear your thoughts.
I have thought about, my grandfather was one of the best man ever. He was just very kind and he was just a really good man with a ton of integrity, and that people just really loved. And he did a lot of really great things. And always, when he passed, I always thought about, I want to have a legacy like he left, where no one could really say anything bad about him. They only had good words to say about him. And that I want to know that when I leave, that I will have impacted and left behind thoughts with people that are good, and that their encounters with me were positive, and that I affected them in positive ways and made their life better by being part of it.
Wow. Well, I'm sure if he was your grandfather, he left, some of that in you. And I'll go ahead and speak for you. I think you impact people's lives, in a positive way. I know you've been a good friend to me for a long time. And while we're on the air, let me just go ahead and give you your flowers while you're here. I have nothing but great things to say about you. You're one of the sweetest and kind and most loving people that I have ever met. You've always been kind to me, and I appreciate that. So we were talking about, having things to say about people when they're gone. But I just want you to know that my life has definitely changed for the better since I've known you. And each time I talk to you or I hear from you, it's always inspiring. And I'm grateful for you being around, for you being alive, for you being the person that you are. So I don't know what anyone else would have to say about you, but for what it's worth, I'm grateful for your kindness, your friendship, your loyalty. You're a wonderful person, and I'll just go ahead and I'll start it off. Your legacy with me is awesome.
Well, thank you. I guess that's what we all hope for.
Yep. So, you want to? I think I have a topic.
Okay.
And I kind of had this, and occasionally I've been threatening to write, my book, and I'm going to be working on that real soon. And occasionally I'll just take bits and pieces and I'll share it on social media here and there just to see what kind of feedback I'll get. And I dropped something this week, and it goes a little something like this. I said, where there is less peace, there is a lack of information, knowledge, or understanding. And I'm going to explain what I meant when I said that, because I did get a little feedback, and I won't, represent the people who spoke on that, but I'm going to talk about, what I meant. I believe that the original creator of all things did not necessarily intend for there to not be peace. Because I believe, based on what I can see that was created, everything is systematic and it works fine. It works in harmony. It works in a, somewhat peaceful way. And, usually when there's any kind of confusion, it's usually something on the, on the part of I'll just say, let's talk about people for a moment, and not to get beside myself because I feel myself drifting already. As it relates to peace, I believe we should all have peace. And if we don't have peace, we are missing either information or knowledge or an understanding. Can we at least agree with that before I go on? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And how are you interpreting that? I mean, I'm going to explain it, but when I say where, when I say where there's, no peace or less peace, there's a lack of knowledge and information. How are you interpreting that? Can you give me an example of that?
Well, I guess the first thing that comes to my mind is just when people have, let's say like a couple or friends have some sort of misunderstanding and they are without peace, that it usually is because they don't, one has misunderstood something that someone said, or there's something was interpreted, not in the way that it was meant. And they have a lack of peace because they're not in a understanding of whatever the item was that has caused the lack of peace.
Okay. So then you agree with that 100%? I mean, I know there are exceptions to that. I mean, if someone actually does something, that goes against, universal principles or points of references or any type of agreement, then of course there's going to be some kind of chaos. And of course you'll have to work through that. But you're right. When there's a general misunderstanding, sometimes people just do need to talk and communicate and get through. And if you're basing whatever chaos there is on points of reference or universal principles, you should be able to reach a settlement or have an understanding or get a better understanding to bring about peace in every situation. So it kind of explains itself. But, I guess part of another topic I was going to mention was, what do you do when you encounter people in particular that really don't care about, universal principles or understanding or even the knowledge that they may have about something? How do you solve, a chaos in dysfunctional situations? You understand what I'm saying at all? What do you do when a person has either little or no values when it comes to what's good and what's right, what's of a good report, what's acceptable in terms of, principles and points of references? And when I say points of references, I kind of want to be clear. I mean things that are established already as either rules or, points of reference. They're just things that are established as either norms. I'm going to go way out and say, okay, it's a principle. You can't breathe underwater with lungs. I know I went way out.
The only thing one of the things that I can relate it to is in my past when I managed people in a call center. And, a lot of times there are so many rules and so many things that have to be accounted for, and everything you do is measured, and you have metrics for everything. And sometimes people just don't understand the reason behind all of that and why it's put in place. So they disregard the rules. And when you sit down and explain, the way that things are laid out and why they're laid out that way, and how, if you spend an extra 5 minutes on every single call, how many calls get backed up and how many people are affected and how many people wait on hold because they can't get through because you've taken 5 minutes extra, because everybody in the call center took 5 minutes extra on every single call. So once they really understand how it's, everything, then they tend to kind of understand and they'll begin to comply. Or, sometimes you have to relate it to an experience that they may have had personally so that they come to a real good understanding of it. Because I think mostly people do want to, be good, do good, and not cause drama and problems and have issues. People do want to be at peace.
You're convinced of that?
I think for the most part.
Okay. Well, we have about, 6 more minutes to go. And I kind of want to give you, I want your take on this. Is it a good idea to consider? Because I think I have a formula. This may have already been discovered, or, it may already be written somewhere, and that's fine if it is. Then I'm just kind of, thinking like another great mind already. I think we have rules and guidelines for a reason. Having those rules and guidelines and still having chaos or trouble or disagreement or a lack of peace means exactly what? I want your take on that with the last few minutes, and then I'm gonna give my take.
Say it again.
I'm gonna do that. I knew I was kind of all over the place. What I'm saying is, if you establish between two people or a group or an organization, okay, these are the rules, these are the guidelines, this is how we're going to handle, this situation, and these things are established, and that's when they go into that realm of their points of references. They may not be universal, but they're, that's what has been set aside. As this is how we're going to do this. This is how we're going to. What does it mean when you still have a lack of peace, or there's still chaos between either two people or an organization when the rules have already been set? Your take on what it means, when there's chaos, when there's no reason for there to be. You got 3.5 minutes. Go.
Obviously it would mean that someone has no regard for what's laid out, for the rules or what's put in place. And so they don't regard it, they don't have any regard for it. They either don't feel that it is important, they don't agree with it, they don't want to comply with it. They don't want, to be part of it.
Okay. My older brother kind of taught me this saying. He would say, either you don't know any better or you don't care. And he wouldn't say it that nicely. But he would say, either you don't know any better or you don't care. So as it relates to not knowing any better, that's why you talk and communicate, so that you can get information, or you can get knowledge, or you can even get an understanding. So if you don't know any better, it makes sense to have a conversation if you are not at peace with someone or a situation, to discuss it a little bit further. But then what you said, if you don't know any better, you said maybe you don't have any regard, maybe you don't care. So that's saying.
Well, this is after, if people I assume by what you said before, is that people already knew the rules and they were disregarding the rules.
So what does that mean? I guess what that means is, what you said.
Because
I guess
you had said that everyone has agreed to the terms. Everyone has agreed to, what's going to be laid out, and then somebody just doesn't do them. They don't pay attention to it. They don't do it, and that's why I said that they just don't care.
Don't care or don't know any better, one of the two. And you did say they just don't care. So I guess, maybe that's why there's
Well, they already know. If you've established, they already know. They know what is expected, and then they are not doing it, then they don't care.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close on that note. I can't thank you for the short notice of being here with me. I appreciate you. I do. And again, this is a kind of I don't even want to call it a small beginning. But it's just what I'm doing, because I just think more people should hear about, more people should try to communicate and try to talk based on things that are not so personal, how you feel, how you think, what you believe. And of course you can't negate those things. You can't just say, okay, what I believe and think doesn't matter, because that's not what I'm saying at all. Everything should be able to be solved. Whether you like it or not is a whole nother situation. Okay. Thank you again for hanging out with me. I'm going to go ahead and let you go. You have a great day.
Right.
And as you make your way, find somebody you need to say I love you to, and don't just say it. You know what to do. Show it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You have a good night. Okay?
You too. All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. That's another edition of Swym, Pwym. I'm Travis Bridges. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'm going to try to do it like this for as long as I can, or until I get some good results. I am convinced that there's a solution for every problem if we're willing to be okay with what is and be okay with accepting, what is. I don't know why this is in my spirit. I've always thought like this as a child, and I just don't understand why there's not world peace. People are trying to pray for it. They're trying to, wish it up. But I think, things have been established already. There are universal principles. There are points of references. There are rules. There are laws. There are guidelines that we just have to find a way to break out or to be okay with what is, and maybe get therapy if you don't like it or for whatever reason. I don't know. I'm just trying to be trying to laugh to keep from crying. Anyway, that's gonna do it to it. Thank you again for hanging out. I'm gonna be away next Sunday and next Wednesday, but I may sneak on if I can. I'm gonna try to sneak on and at least say hello, but I won't be doing the normal thing because I will be kind of sort of out of pocket, preparing for a move that will put me in better position to be a better musician by leaving a legacy, by recording a CD project, as well as writing the book that I've been threatening to write for a while. And I want to learn a foreign language. And since I'm in South Florida, although there's so many different languages, Spanish is one of those languages that is just like, in your face no matter where you go. And since I live here and I want to be here for a while, and I can't beat them, so I'm gonna just try to join them. Plus, it's self-fulfilling prophecy of mine, to learn a different language. So I'm gonna go where they're speaking it, and I'm gonna try to learn it, or from those that are speaking it fluently. So that's gonna do it to it. Thank you for hanging out with me until next week or next time. You do me a favor and yourself a favor, and take care of yourself, okay? Yeah, here we go. Good night.